Hey, Temming, thank you for the heads up here. Sorry, guys. Having some technical difficulties. My camera isn't working. I don't know why, but hope you guys can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me now. Should be able to hear me. If I can get a confirmation, that'd be great. Okay, perfect. Thank you guys for letting me know. So, having a little bit of technical issues with my camera and some of this stuff. So, apologies on the late start and all of that. We are looking at Sheets's build from Tuesday here. So, we reviewed it live on stream yesterday. I gave it a very unbiased review and just gave it my raw thoughts. And then he was kind enough to record himself going through this process. So after I reviewed it, I went back and watched that video. If you guys haven't seen it, it's in the Office Hours channel in our Discord server. I posted it there for everyone to check out. And I wanted to circle back today and kind of talk about his build a little bit. Some things that I saw, some things I thought were interesting, some things that I thought he could improve on and change, and just kind of come full circle on this, given that he recorded his entire process. So we're looking at his build right now from Tuesday here. And, one thing that he did that I didn't even think to use it this way previously, but, when in late swap, the way we've talked about late swapping is that if you want to optimize on a contest by contest basis, then you need to open up a different swap window for every contest, because when you click late swap, then you click your contest, right? So it's like, okay, I'm going to click all of them, but then I can only sort by one contest at a time here, right? So it's like, okay, I have all of these lineups in one late swap build, but I can only, swap one at a time. That kind of sucks. Well, he was doing it in a way where he was selecting all of his contests, so all of his lineups, and then in his contest sim settings, he had all of his contest sims for all the contests he was playing. He would run it, and then he would sort by the contest sim in question, and then he would fill one at a time. And I was like, wow, does that actually work? And I had to go talk to our team and be like, hey, if he's late swapping all his lineups together, sort is that actually optimizing on a contest by contest basis? And the consensus was, yes, it is. So I had never done my own late swaps like that previously. So, if you're looking to streamline your late swap process, I would actually do it the exact way that he did, where you late swap, you get all your contests in one big build, you build your lineups, you run all of the contest sims at once, and then you go through here, picking a contest sim, saving that one at a time, and then you go and do the next process, and then you save the second one, and then you save the third one, and then you save the fourth, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll say that, I thought the way he was late swapping was really, really intuitive, and I thought it was really good. As far as things I would change, if you watch his process, there were a couple of things that I found kind of interesting. So the biggest was how he was building his lineups and filling them, right? So let's take this build, for example, right? This is a pre-slate build here. So it says build 3. My lineups is 150, right? He has a 150 max contest, right? This $5. So I thought, okay, he's doing it for the $5, and then he's, moving on. So one thing I noticed was that when he would go, say from the knuckleball, which is the 150 max, to say any of these smaller contests, whether it be the Immaculate Inning with 10 entries, whether it be the 4-ball with 1 entry, or all these other single entries, he wasn't changing the number of my lineups. So basically what's happening here is he's coming through, and he was leaving my lineups at 150. He was adjusting min uniques until the average projection moved too much. Say he drops it like to 3. Okay, this looks all right. Not a big change. We're at 102.3. And then the average projection, say it moved down to 101.5, and he's like, you know what, that's far enough, right? I don't want to go any further than that. But if he's filling a single entry, it really doesn't matter. And the reason for that is that the top lineup is always going to be used when he's using this unique rank fill method. So and the other thing is that the builder is going to prioritize the top lineups. So it's going to move lineup 10 before it moves lineup 9. It's going to move lineup 9 before it moves lineup 8, et cetera, et cetera. So like lineup 1 is going to be the last lineup to change always when using mini uniques. So it doesn't really matter that he has 150 lineups, that the average projection is changing and he's settling on a number, because the top lineup is basically always being used. So, there's like a couple of things he could do here. The simplest thing to do is to, turn mini uniques back to 1. Change my lineups to 1. So as he's coming in here and doing all of the individual contest sims, and I'll just demo this for the single entries. So I'm going to run the contest sim so I could actually have them and I can change. And we're just waiting for the contest sim to finish now. All right. So now I have my big list of contest sims, right? So the way I would do this is, let's say that, I want to do this list top to bottom. So I'm going to do the qualifier first, right? Okay. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to change my mini unique to 1, and then I'm going to save this lineup, right? And I'm going to click save, and then I'm going to go back. What I would do at this point is I would trash this lineup so it does not get used again. We don't want to duplicate lineups. We want to use, unique lineups. So then we're going to get a new. So now I'm looking at this battery contest, right? I still have 1 in the mini uniques. This is my top risk-adjusted ROI lineup based on this contest sim. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to save this contest, right? And then I think we said this one was the battery, and then save, right? And then do that again. Trash. It's going to refill to 1. And then I'm going to move on to the next contest sim, right? So this is, a little bit more specific as to what lineup you're actually getting, as opposed to looking at like a bigger set of 150. So there's pros and cons to doing it this way, right? Pro is you know what top lineup you're getting. You're getting the best lineup per contest sim. Bad part is that, let's say the builder really likes Milwaukee. Well, you could end up with a Milwaukee lineup with Milwaukee being used in every single contest sim without much diversification, right? So that could be kind of bad. And there isn't a good way to diversify across different contest sims. So there's a couple different things you could do here. And I'm just going to list them off. I don't really have an opinion of which way is best, but these are just different ideas that kind of come to mind. So number 1, what you could do is you could do something where you're like, hey, I'm okay playing any of, the top 5 best lineups from this contest sim, right? If I come in here and I look and, let's say like lineup 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And, the reason that we're seeing this right now is because so these lineups are getting pushed to the top of the pool here. But what you can do, right, is you can say, hey, I'm down to take any of the top 5 lineups and then just use unique random, and you get a little bit more spread out. You could do something like this with mini uniques. Say, hey, I'm willing to play any of the top 5 lineups who have at least, 4 players different from each other, depending on this average projection, really, right? You're going to move your min uniques around based on your projection. You're going to settle on a number. And then you're like, hey, you know, this 97 number looks pretty good. I have 5 lineups that all have at least 4 players different. So I know I'm getting a little bit more diversity in my set here. And I'm willing to play any of these 5 in this contest. And then I can come in and use unique random on this set when I fill it, right? And then bad thing is that you don't know exactly which lineup you used. So you would have to trash all 5, right? That is one way to think about it. That is way 2, right? The first way, which is the best way, is to just use my lineups of 1, min unique of 1, playing the highest ROI lineup or highest risk-adjusted ROI lineup from each contest sim. This second way guarantees you a little bit more diversity. And then the last way would be to basically say, hey, I want to build all of my single entries together. So these 5 single entries, I'm going to build all of them together. And from this 5, the one that I care about winning the most, you know, let's say it's going to be my highest entry fee contest. So I'm going to use the risk-adjusted ROI of this contest sim. I'm going to let the other lineups come from this contest sim, and then I'm going to fill all of these into my lineups, right? So then now what I would do is I could take these 5. I could either do unique rank where the top lineup will go into the top contest and I could order them. Like maybe I care about entry fee, right? So I'll put the $400, then the $250, then the $175, then the $121. So where it's like, hey, I want lineup 1 in this contest, lineup 2 in the second, lineup 3 in the third, etc. You could use unique rank where it's like, you know what? I think all 5 of these lineups are good. Just randomly assign them. And I'm okay if, you know, lineup 3 goes into the top contest or something like that. But those are like probably the 3 ways that I can think of that make sense as to how to fill your single entry contest. So just to go over that one more time. So best way, most highly suggested way, min unique of 1, my lineup of 1. Use each contest sim, going 1 at a time and filling them to the contest. Con about that is that it doesn't give you diversity across the 5 contests. You could end up with the same team kind of in all 5. Number 2 would be to take a subset from each contest sim, whether that be 3 lineups, 4 lineups, 5 lineups, doesn't matter. Take a subset. Say I want to use, you know, I'm okay playing any of the top 3 lineups, but I want them to be a little bit more diverse. So then I go and I put min uniques of, I don't know, say 5 as an example. And then I randomly assign one of these 3 to one contest. It's one way of thinking of it. And then when you're done, you trash these lineups. And then the last way would be to say, I'm going to build all of the lineups together in one build and pick the contest sim that matters the most to me, where I can make sure I get better diversity, and then fill all 5 either via unique rank or via unique random. So that is the only thing I would change. And, you know, I'm not sure which way, you know, I think a different one of those options is going to work for a different person. Some people might see option 1, be like, yep, I'm definitely going to do that. Some people might see option 1 and be like, you know what? I hate that I can't really tell if I have one team in all 5 lineups, and that makes me nervous. I'd rather do option 2 or 3. You got to figure out which one's the right one for you. But as far as like what Sheets did, I think he did a ton of great stuff, you know, super unbiased, super hands off, trusting his projections, trusting our tools in combination with his projections. And, you know, it worked out for him, right? He ended up sending a screenshot in the Discord showing that he won like 30K on FanDuel that day, right? So super cool for him. Thank you again for showing us your stuff. I hope this part helps you out and helps you to, you know, adjust your process a little more and make sense why it's better to do one of these 3 options than to leave it at 160 lineups where you're effectively just doing option 1 because you're just taking the top lineup since it's like almost never changing, but you didn't know you're doing that. So you're using the best way without knowing you're using the best way. But this just brings a little bit more clarity as to what is actually happening in that process. So gonna move on to our next participant here, but I hope that helps a lot. And Sheets is here. Awesome, Sheets. Thanks again so much, man. All right. We got our next person here. I hope this works. Okay. So we got our next user coming up right now. And this is going to be Mr. M. Dumbluski in the Discord. And we are going to go back to Wednesday's slate here, main slate from yesterday. And let's see what he played. So starting off in the contest tab. Okay, so 150 maxing the mini max, putting one shot in the flagship. Again, I don't mind doing this. You know, you want to take a shot at the highest prize in the lobby, you know, allocating one bullet to that, I think is okay. You know, we're gambling at the end of the day, and I think that's fine if you want to make that part of your mix. I do got to recommend, you know, at least taking this like more baseline $75 and spreading it around dime times, quarters, $1.20 max, etc. You can get a lot of good action in those contests before playing this. And, you know, the biggest thing, right, comes back to achievable ROIs, right? We go into this mini max, you know, allocating $75 to this contest. And then we go and look at achievable ROIs for 150 maxers. Like, what are the top people getting? And it's single digit ROIs, right? Single digit. Say we go to the solo shot, right? $1.20 max. And we come in here, sort by maxers. Sim average profits are closer to 20%. So on average, the best players maxing out this contest are making more money in the long run than if they were maxing out the mini max, right? And I'm almost positive that the same will hold true for the quarter jukebox. The same will probably hold true for the dime times. You know, that the mini max just ends up being a lower edge contest, unfortunately, which makes it even more the reason why you should prioritize some of these other low stakes contests. So this is like a good way to kind of determine what contest you should play. Like, should I play, you know, contest 1 or should I play contest 2? And then you go and you kind of look in here, like past slates. I'm like, okay, well, you know, the achievable ROIs in contest 2 seem a little bit higher. So I'm going to prioritize that contest over contest 1. And that's something you could do here. So just an example as to why we recommend the contest selection that we recommend. Now let's go in here and let's review your 150 lineups. All right, filtered for 150, sort by sim ROI. So right now your sim ROI is about neutral. Okay, so let's jump in here. So average salary does not look very bad. Average dupes is 0. Some of these lineups look really strange. Oh, I'm sorting. I was so confused right now because I've seen this second person here and I'm like, they have 149 average dupes, no unique lineups. Why is this person here? But I was sort all right, now that we're sorted correctly, sim ROI high to low, let's jump in here. So average salary looks fine, pretty in line here. some dupes, but average dupes 0. I think that's probably pretty random. Sim average score looks good, pretty close and in line with some of these higher portfolios here. Like even almost 1% here isn't bad. Like that puts you in the top 20-ish sim ROI maxers in this contest. So still, very like not bad for this contest, but it also shows like why your dollars might be spent in a different contest, like better. But let's just jump in here, right? So we talk about like, hey, when it doesn't look like you're doing anything egregious, we kind of got to dive a little bit deeper. Playing at least a 4 stack in every lineup. Team stack exposures look very spread out. No one more than 29%. Highest exposures to pitchers, no batter over 25%. This all looks good, right? Not seeing anything weird. So then it's like, okay, if he's not doing anything weird, then what is he doing wrong, right? So then what I would do is I would filter for him and I would go to his lineups and I would actually spend time here just looking like, hey, what the lineups that did bad, sim ROI wise, what do they look like? And then comparing those to the lineups that did good, right? And by shedding bad sim ROI lineups, you're just basically going to end up in a situation where you're playing better lineups, right? Or your sim ROI would just naturally rise if you just get rid of, the quote unquote like dead weight. Okay. So let's start with this first lineup, right? It is a 5-2 stack, plenty of correlation. And let's zoom out on our browser a little bit so we can see these ownerships. Sim ROI negative 33% here. 48.3 salary, 92.7 projected score. Is a 5-2 stack. Playing decently owned pitchers. Probably where the high negative sim ROI comes from is because this team being stacked is like the lowest team total on the day, at a 3.3 run total here. That's like the biggest thing that stands out to me here. But let's just keep going and let's keep looking. So then we see another high, negative 22% sim ROI, but this one has about 5 points higher projection, right? So 1, 3, 6, 8, 9 of the Phillies. So I'm just going to give you guys my opinions here. I get a little bit nervous doing this, but so one thing I've noticed in doing these myself, and maybe you see something different, maybe you don't agree, that's okay. When you're stacking a team with lower ownership, you don't really need to use as many players that are lower in the lineup. So like here we see like we have a 5 stack of the Phillies, about 5% owned across the board, but it has like an 8 hitter and a 9 hitter, right? That to me is a little bit of a red flag because the team already has low ownership. And again, I'm trying to make sense of why is this lineup negative 22% sim ROI. There isn't, SaberSim isn't like this AI engine who you kind of have to try and come to some of these conclusions on your own. So lineup 1, I'm saying that, this 92 projected score, 5 stacking this, lowest projected run total team, and even, maybe using a hitter from like the bottom of the order, skipping hitters 2 and 4 might have not been great for this lineup. kind of similar, even though the projection's higher, still using like lower in the order hitters, but this team doesn't really have that much ownership. So you don't really need to use it, right? Like we were looking at some of those lineups with the Mets recently, like, cause they've been in Colorado, and like when you're playing the 20% owned team, playing those 7, 8, 9 hitters give you some salary relief, give you some lineup construction differentiation. And like that worked really well for the Mets with high ownership, but it doesn't seem to work as good for a team like the Phillies where their ownership isn't very high to begin with. You're almost like playing a low owned team and then playing them in an even weirder way where you didn't really need to get to that like second level of weirdness. So anyways, let's take this and let's just go and look at some of the highest sim ROI lineups. We've looked at a few here. Now I kind of want to see what the differences are. And, I'm trying to make sense of it. I'm doing my best to say, okay, what is it about these lineups that make them so high negative sim ROI? And based on what I'm seeing, that is just the conclusion that I'm starting to draw. So let's let these lineups resort. Now let's look at some of these, right? And this kind of, this is kind of a trend we've seen like the entire Mets series. So one, projected scores higher, right? Playing some of these higher projected lineups, 103, 109, 102, 104. But playing them, we see like a 1, 2, 3, 6, 9 stack for the Mets, where it's like, hey, why does 6, 9 work for the Mets, but it doesn't work for the Phillies? It's like, well, the Mets team is going to have a higher projection and they're also going to assume more ownership. So if we can get to, 8% owned Jose Iglesias, but in a really good hitting environment, then this ends up being like a really good piece to the puzzle, right? Same thing for like Tyrone Taylor. Like those are the things that I see that make this lineup better. Also like the 10-point projection increase. But I see that lineup construction work better for a high projected team than a medium or even low projected team, right? And then let's take an example that's like not the Mets, right? Maybe we come and look at this third lineup here with the Rays. It's a 5-2 stack. Projection is 5 points above that 97. But then we see a Rays. It's a 1, 4, 5, 6, 7 stack. So leadoff hitter, and then this 4, 5, 6, 7. These players are probably highly correlated together. Like I don't know. This lineup looks different than that, Phillies lineup with the 8, 9 stack, right? Phillies, it was a 5 stack, but it had both 8, 9 hitters. Ownership was really similar, right? So to me, it's a combination of the projection and the hitters being used is what is the big difference between this lineup being positive sim ROI 29% and the other lineup being negative 22% sim ROI. So, that's like kind of what I would say here. And those are things I think that are small details that are sometimes hard to see, but I would try to make an adjustment based off of this, and I would see how it goes. So let's say that, MWC is going to take my advice. He's going to, kind of sift through some of these lineups in his pool, looking at them and trying to figure out, okay, should he play them or not? Just like spot checking some lineups. And then he's going to go back and review his sim ROI. And then he's going to do that today. He's going to do that tomorrow. He's going to do that the next day. And he's going to see, am I trending in the right direction? Am I staying the same or am I getting worse? And then depending on how this, sample goes for however many days he does it would then depend on like, hey, is this working? Do I need to keep doing this? Do I need to scrap it and start over? Or is it neutral and it's not really having any effect on my lineups at all? He has to try something in order to see the effect that it has, because, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So it's important to try something to see if it has an effect at all. And this is also why it's good to have a portfolio of contests where maybe you're playing a dime time, a quarter jukebox, a solo shot, and a $4 20 max, right? You're playing 4 20 max contests. You could say, hey, I want to take this approach and I want to see if I can increase my sim ROI in the dime time. I want to take this approach. I want to apply it to a very small entry fee contest. And I want to see if in that contest I can go from 5% sim ROI to 10% sim ROI using this adjustment. Or I could see that this adjustment doesn't end up working, and at least I only allocated a small amount of my bankroll to seeing if this would work in the first place. So you're letting yourself off cheaply by trying it in this smaller dollar contest. And then if it's working, you can expand it, right? Then you try it in the quarter next. Then you try it in the $1. Then you try it in all of the contests and see if it's having the same effect across all of them. So those are like the things that I would be trying to do, the way I would be trying to solve the problem when trying to figure out when your overall lineup metrics look good. How do you get more granular? It's something along the lines of what I just showed, making adjustments, trial and error, seeing if they work, trying them on your smallest entry contests, and then figuring out if they work and then expanding it to more and more of your portfolio. But that is the approach I would be taking, to get better every single day. You got to include this review in as a part of, your daily DFS activity. So hope that makes sense. Hope that helps. If anybody has opinions about some of those ideas, I'm happy to hear them and would love to discuss them further. But all right. We are caught up with users here. We did the Sheets review. We looked at MDM Blueski's set here. Hope you guys enjoy these. Hope you guys, get something out of it, even if it's just a different way of thinking about DFS at the end of the day. That's really what we're here for. So I'll be right back here tomorrow, Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern for our office hours show. And if anybody tuning in wants me to review their builds, just drop your username in the Discord in the office hours channel, and I will put you on the list for tomorrow. So until then, everybody, take care. Thanks. Bye.